Looks like the experts got it wrong. Unfortunately, increasingly, that is the one consistent and recurring message coming out not only of the global coronavirus pandemic, but also out of so many other issues that are turning the modern world upside down. The experts got it wrong. Not entirely wrong, of course, but wrong enough to do immense unnecessary damage. In a minute, we'll be talking to Patrick Moore, whose next book is called Fake Invisible Catastrophes and Threats of Doom. Is this what the coronavirus crisis has been? Because it's certainly what the so-called global warming crisis has been for decades now, a fake catastrophe built on a fraudulent threat of doom. As we discussed earlier in the show with Matt Ridley, there are many questions about the coronavirus. Is it transmitted mainly by breathing or by touching? Why are obese people especially at risk? Are ventilators actually useless after all? Why is it not exploding in India and Africa? Will there be a second wave? We will eventually have the answers to all these questions. But what we do already know is that here in Australia, we have driven nearly 1 million people out of work, sent untold numbers of businesses into bankruptcy, destroyed potentially thousands of lives, driven people to suicide, and racked up an eye-watering debt that will cripple our kids' future prosperity for decades. All that in just 8 weeks. And yet, increasingly, it is looking like an awful lot of this damage could and should have been avoided. 1 year ago yesterday, the people of Australia gave the Morrison government the clear and unequivocal mandate, and I would argue instruction, to return us to surplus within 12 months. Now, exactly a year later, we are looking at the biggest debt and deficit this country has ever known. Did the people change their mind? No. But Australia's health experts, all on the public purse, so in no danger of losing their own cushy jobs, told us the coronavirus would kill hundreds of thousands of us unless we gave up our jobs and locked ourselves down. We trusted them. But already it looks like they were wrong. And then Treasury experts, also all on the public purse, so in no danger of losing their cushy jobs, convinced Josh Frydenberg that he had to do what no other government has ever done in Australian history, to blow hundreds of billions of dollars paying people to sit at home. Common sense dictated back in early March that we should close our borders and restrict the size of crowds for 2 or 3 or even 4 weeks in order to prevent the exponential spread of the virus, where cases and deaths double every few days, which is precisely what we did, and it worked. But the experts insisted we go much, much, much further. The experts told us we weren't allowed to sunbathe in parks, and they even closed down our beaches, shut our schools, and in the most ridiculous overreaction, the experts insisted we hibernate our economy for supposedly 18 months or thereabouts. And they put in legislation to do so, even though common sense and many economists and commentators said that this was a nonsense. Already in Europe, many are saying the lockdown was a mistake. And just this morning, the pandemic models the world relied on have been slammed as hopelessly flawed. In the space of a few short weeks, thanks to the overreaction of the experts, we have destroyed the very fabric of our nation. And both here and overseas, it is becoming clear that certain measures insisted upon by the experts may actually have made the spread of the virus worse, particularly with the failure to focus exclusively on protecting the elderly. And to say we weren't warned is not true. Many commentators were calling for the economy to be opened up weeks ago, including, of course, on Sky News, Andrew Bolt, Alan Jones, Outsiders, Adam Creighton, David Flint, James Allen, Terry McCrann, many others were all, of course, vilified by the left for saying it, but were saying we cannot do this to our economy. But this is not the first time our governments have wasted vast sums of money because the experts panicked them into taking extreme measures that common sense said were unnecessary or overblown. We all remember in 2007, climate change expert Tim Flannery told us that even the rain that falls won't be enough to fill our rivers or dams. Successive state governments took him at his word and then wasted billions of taxpayer dollars on useless white elephant desalination plants that have, for the most part, sat idle ever since. The experts were wrong. The experts told us subsidising renewables would make our energy cheaper. And our energy prices have gone up year after year. They told us electric cars and solar panels and windmills are all clean and green. Yet, as Michael Moore's recent film demonstrates, they are anything but. The experts decided you could separate the farmer's water from the farmer's land and hand it over to private investors. Great idea. We got the worst drought in years, exacerbated by an unparalleled disaster of water management this summer. And of course, the experts, oh, so many of them, kept insisting that the Chinese Communist government could be trusted with buying up all our assets, and that we were racists to dare suggest that they had anything other than the purest motives, which blind Freddie knew was a crock. Wrong, 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 and wrong again. In just 2 short months, from early March to early May, the experts have crippled the prosperity of this nation and ruined countless lives because they followed the hopelessly flawed computer models and doomsday predictions and overblown schemes of the expert elites. Just imagine the utter devastation they will cause if we ever allow them to pursue their even more ludicrous and dangerous climate modelling and the mad net zero emissions agenda. They would leave this country in ruins. What is the common thread here? In my opinion, the all-powerful political classes are so detached, not only from the people, from you and me, who pay for them, but more importantly, detached from everyday rational common sense and tried and tested conservative beliefs of the sort that you hear around the kitchen table. Excuse me. Not only do most of our politicians have no faith in the public, sadly, after too many years of focus groups and spin doctors, they have no faith in their own judgment. So they rely on advice from an elitist class of pampered, publicly funded, self-serving academics, public servants and bureaucrats who wallow in the sludge of politically correct consensus and cower behind PowerPoint presentations where nobody ever gets the blame and, yes, everybody's on the gravy train, so everybody gets a cushy pay packet even when they are retired or even when they are wrong. The total lockdown we did not have to have, which is leading to the recession we did not have to have. That's just my opinion, but of course, I'm no expert. Thank God.